Hello and what is up YouTube? My name is G3Iron and welcome to today's discussion where we're chatting about this new skin that is now available for you to equip. You got to purchase it first, of course. It's a microtransaction in-game for Path of Exile. And if you purchase it, you can then equip it to a ring slot. And what this does is it will track the amount of currency that you've picked up off the ground. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you here today what it looks like to purchase it and then what it looks like to actually use it. Okay, so in game, I've just purchased this, right? I just made the purchase for the Exile's Pilfering Ring. You just go to purchase items for this slot. You come up and you go over here to Exile Ring Variations. There's two different variations that you can buy. One of them is the pedometer ring. Tracks the number of steps your character has taken, and the other one is the Pilfering Ring that tracks the currency that you pick up off of the ground. Okay, so from here we go to our cosmetic set, we click on the item. Because this is an MTX, this is recoverable and usable on different characters. So I can use this on a character here that's in Necropolis League. I can boot up a map, I can jump into the map, I can then go kill something, pick up some currency, and anything that I've got, as soon as I scroll over the ring, I believe in the currency, or I'm sorry, in the cosmetics tab, right? When you just look at your ring based on your character sheet in your inventory, it's not going to show anything. You need to swap over to your MTX inventory, and then from there you'll actually be able to see what essentially things look like. Okay, so we pick up 4 fusings. I've got like not an ultra high filter, but something of a filter on here, so hopefully some things will drop. There we go, some things are dropping, so we'll grab a couple more fusings, some scrolls. It'd be great if there was like a high value thing that dropped, but there isn't going to be. Okay, so again, showing inventory, not going to show anything. Go hit K, that's at least the default on my screen. And it shows us, hey, this is the stuff that we've picked up so far. We've picked up 8 fusings, and that's it. That's all that we've picked up so far, is 8 fusing since we purchased it. But it shows it all right there. The currency, it seems to be, is pretty much basic currency. It's not the exotic currency. Maybe, you know, if there's enough purchases, who knows what GGG will do, if they're going to do another sort of, you know, second ring slot that you could use. Like right now, you can already go between the 2 cosmetics. You could get the Pilfering Ring, and that will track your currency that drops, or you could get the pedometer ring that's going to track your steps that you take. So I don't know if there would be a third one that they'd want to drop that would be like exotic currency that you've dropped, maybe divination cards that you've dropped. I could just see this proliferating as a MTX option for players moving forward. So I generally don't do MTX show-offs and features. I just wanted to show this one off today because partially I think this is a good discussion point for Path of Exile 2. I think what we're seeing as more MTX come out for Path of Exile 1, I said this 4 years ago as soon as Path of Exile 2 was announced with 4.0 and all of the excitement. Like everything that's being designed now for PoE 1 is being designed with PoE 2 in mind. Whether that's because everything that's going to come out for PoE 1 is then going to be transferred and used in PoE 2, or if it's intentionally different in order to separate the feel of Path of Exile 1 and the feel of Path of Exile 2. My sense from this sort of stuff that's like tracking kills or tracking steps or tracking currency that you pick up, maybe eventually someday tracking the div cards that you drop, maybe someday tracking the amount of experience that you get from certain zones. Who knows? Like you can proliferate all sorts of MTX based off of this. But this feels like a stepping stone sort of thing to me. This feels like a testing the ground sort of thing to me, and then depending on how this works, this might become base kit in the future. I would highly doubt it. Generally, if companies sell something and they're successful at selling it, then they're not going to give that as a base kit into the future. But maybe this gives us an idea of some of the things that might be base kit in Path of Exile 2, along with a whole bunch of the spoilers and interviews that are going on right now. I feel like we can start to piece together some more information about what maybe the future of Path of Exile 2 is in terms of our characters, in terms of the UI, in terms of tracking data. We're all players who love to track data and interact with data all over the place. So it feels like this is maybe dipping a toe in the water in terms of giving us even more layers of data for us and for our characters as we're interacting and building out characters and buying MTX and seeing, okay, what do we actually have accomplished on one character or another. If I know anything about grinding gear games and the way how they build their MTX sales and the way how they market things. Like you never just want to have one skin for a skill, right? You never want to just have one skin for a skill, because if players don't like that skin for the skill, they might not use the skill, but if they do use the skill, they're certainly not going to buy the skin, right? So this kind of gets back into a little bit of the discussion about ethics and sales and game balance and those sorts of things. But let's say, for instance, you've got a skill gem that you released a couple of leagues ago, and so now you come out with some new alternative MTX effects for that particular skill gem. The skill gem isn't unbalanced, overpowered. It's not in that state where it was upon release, but it's still good and it's relatively popular. Well, if you've got a couple of alternative skins to it, players, as we know in the Path of Exile community, there might be players who prefer one MTX skin because of performance. Hey, it goes easier on certain people's rigs than on others. Other people might like a certain sound effect or a certain visual effect. There are players, I know, I used to be one of them, who play Herald of Ice builds just because they like the popping sound and the visual expression of Herald of Ice. And we're talking base Herald of Ice, not even all of the different effects of that. Anyway, so this is a kind of a principle of marketing and sales inside a free-to-play game, that if you've got layers of convenience and you've got layers of data that you can make accessible to your players, if you've got layers of choices that are available to players, like if you've got 5 or 6 MTXs available for that one skill gem, chances are one of those will sell, and maybe will sell better when it's in comparison with other skills and other MTXs for that skill that players don't like. There's a rule, you can look it up. There's whole slews of academic papers and academic research on the topic of psychology. As human beings, if you're looking at a single hamburger or at a single individual even, that individual, that piece of food, that product might look less attractive to you or less desirable to you if it's just standing alone. But if you put it in a group setting and you compare it with others, then all of the sudden that one thing might shine even brighter. It's the same burger, it's the same MTX, it's the same person, but now all of a sudden when you put the thing in a group or the person in a group, for whatever reason, things stand out. We differentiate and we pick out the things, we kind of rank things as human beings. It's a psychological thing. You can look up all sorts of studies on it. But I feel like this is kind of a natural byproduct of the proliferation of MTX skills. Right now we've got, or MTX effects. So right now we've got these 2 for rings, one that's going to allow you to track your currency, one that allows you to track your steps. Again, in the future, what about bosses killed? Not just monsters in general with the killed command that you can type in when you've purchased a certain level of support pack, but what about, like, this is the number of Chayulas you've done. This is the number of Searing Exarchs that you've done. This is the number of times you've killed Shaper. Players love to track that sort of data and share that sort of data. So I could totally see this taking off as an entire subset where players essentially just have MTXs on their character, where all they're doing is they're just tracking the data, right? This is a massive, massive thing that people inside the community love to do. I love to do it. You love to do it. We're primarily a data-driven game and community, right? I mean, we build Path of Building. We look at charts. We make spreadsheets. We build all sorts of third-party websites. Like, we are all about the data as a Path of Exile community. So I could totally see this template proliferating into other areas and other avenues. And maybe some of those things will be base kit in PoE 2. Maybe some of those things won't be base kit in PoE 2. We'll just wait and see. Anyway, I'm excited for the Exiles Pilfering Ring. I hope you are too. Drop me a comment down below with your own thoughts, and I'll interact with them as time allows. Thanks so much for joining us for today's discussion, and I hope the ongoing 324 Necropolis League is the league where your Pilfering Ring shows. A Mirror of Calandra has dropped for you.
Thanks for watching that video. If you'd like more information on any of our discussion points today, you can see them down below in the video description. If you'd also like to join our Discord or support our Patreon, you can do so with the links down below. Thanks again, and big shout out to all of our Patreon supporters.